Myanmar's government has been ordered to take emergency measures to prevent soldiers committing acts of genocide against Rohingya Muslims still living there. The International Court of Justice has also ruled that Myanmar protect all evidence for a potential genocide trial. Around 750,000 Rohingya fled to neighbouring Bangladesh during a military offensive against them 3 years ago. Myanmar's leader denies charges of genocide.
Myanmar must, in accordance with its obligations under the Convention and in relation to the members of the Rohingya group in its territory, take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Genocide Convention.
Neve Barker is covering this from The Hague. He says the ruling will be difficult to enforce, but is still a significant development from the court.
What the court has been asked to do is rule on two things: to say whether or not it has jurisdiction, and it has come back saying it does indeed have jurisdiction, meaning a genocide trial will take place. And secondly, it was asked by the Gambia too to impose something called provisional measures, which amounts to an emergency injunction to put the brakes on any form of genocidal violence. And what we've heard from the court a short while ago is that there are terms on what it wants Myanmar to do. It wants to make sure that its military and all irregular forces that work alongside it stop all acts of violence, including rape, the burning of villages, mass murder, the prevention of access to medicine. It has also asked Myanmar to preserve all evidence when it comes to the ongoing trial, the future trial of genocide. And there are also further terms when it comes to the timing as well. It wants Myanmar to report back 4 months from today, and then every 6 months going forward, to show exactly what it's doing to the international community to prove that it is actually living up to what the ICJ, the UN's highest court, has now imposed upon it.
Antonia Mulvey is Executive Director of Legal Action Worldwide, a non-profit group focused on human rights law. She joins us now live from Beirut. What's your reaction to this ruling?
Today is a momentous day. I mean, who would have thought that the International Court of Justice has made a decision, a unanimous decision, a panel of 17 judges, one selected by Myanmar and one by Gambia, of provisional measures to prevent acts of genocide, and the Myanmar military must not commit further acts of genocide. And as we heard earlier from your reporter, not to destroy evidence and to report back to the court. I mean, it was incredible. And we represent Rohingya refugees who are residing in Bangladesh, and we saw their faces and their reactions that the world has taken note, and the highest court in the land has made this decision. It's really very, very landmark today. And going forward, what does that mean? You know, the Rohingya have been seeking justice, and we've been helping them to try to obtain that. And this is an incredibly important step, even though it may take years for the full trial to go ahead.
Yeah, but as I understand it, the court's decision is unenforceable. I mean, Myanmar does not have to comply. It could just ignore the ruling.
Well, it is a legally binding decision, and I think let's go back to the hearings in December. Aung San Suu Kyi herself went to represent her country, and I think that's very significant. That shows us that she and Myanmar have actually engaged in these proceedings. So it is legally binding. Of course, it's the million-dollar question: will Myanmar comply? They do have very strict reporting provisions that have been requested by the court. What happens if they don't? It would have to go to the UN Security Council. And I think here it's going to be really important that we continue international pressure on Myanmar to abide by its legal obligations, and also those that are in Bangladesh watch to see what happens to the Rohingya when they come, if they have to flee still Myanmar into Bangladesh, that we take their stories and hear what they have to say. So I think now we're going to see what will be the reaction, and of course till now we haven't seen a response from Aung San Suu Kyi to the court's decision.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what this means for Aung San Suu Kyi, given that she denied that a genocide had occurred in Myanmar.
You know, I would love to be a fly on the wall right now and seeing what does Aung San Suu Kyi think to this. You know, human rights icon. And there she was at The Hague, now defending the actions of the Myanmar military. And I was there in The Hague with some of the Rohingya refugees who had fled during the 2017 clearance operations, some of them who'd lost a 20-year-old widow who'd had 9 members of her family killed and subjected to very serious sexual violence, who'd wanted to just reach out in the court against Aung San Suu Kyi. I think that she had said before to the world she didn't know what was happening. She cannot deny that. And the highest court in the land has also said to take action now to prevent further acts, to protect 600,000 Rohingya who still remain in Rakhine State in Myanmar. And I think that's incredibly important. We shouldn't forget that there's still many Rohingya still residing in Myanmar. And that's absolutely crucial, that decision for them today.